A bit holy situation here. But let's give a big applause to Marika Makaroff. Welcome to the stage.
So thank you so much for the invitation. I'm so happy to be here, and I kind of love the exercise because I was kind of thinking about the theme today, vibrance and vibrant. What does it mean to me? And for me, vibrant kind of brings vibrant colors to my mind, or vibrant music. And I kind of started to think about my career. So I'm the founder of Gutsy Animations and also creative director there. And I have been working with creative teams for 25 years around the world. And we are now mostly known as Moomin Valley, that is double Emmy nominated production. But I have been working in Nordics in different places like Shine and Fremantle and Filmlands International as a creative director. And for me, vibrant means, or vibrance means, the resonation. So it's not only like when we see a vibrant color, but what happens inside of us. And when we hear music, it's not about the band being vibrant, it's also the vibration and resonation that brings to us. And I think that in creative teams, this is so important because for me, creativity is about trust, it's about resonation, it's about understanding, and it's about sharing. And here you can see, I just kind of found these images of the different planets, how they resonate and their frequencies. So you can see that they vibrate as well. And I remember that when I was founding Gutsy, I kind of thought that it has to start with a G because some of the scientists say that also the Earth, when it goes around, it makes a sound. And that's a sound of G. Somebody says it's a F sharp, but I really believe that that's a G. So everything resonates, everything like brings us some kind of feelings. And that is what I'm kind of talking today. And you have to kind of think about with what angle I come to speak about this. So I've been studying in UK leadership and creativity and leadership in change in Sweden. But I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I'm the perfect boss. But these are just the insights that what I have learned and what I have kind of been realizing while working with different creative teams. So if you have any doubts, or if you want to debate with me, or if you want to have any questions, please be free to say whenever you want. So I start with the fact that I think that is so true. So Superman isn't real. And what I mean about that is that our society is filled with these kind of superhero stories. So we hear stories about Elon Musk, or we hear stories about Steve Jobs, or these kind of one genius people who can innovate and create and do it all. But in fact, there was one researcher that I was really intrigued about the results, that every great idea, every great innovation, there is at least three people behind that, and mostly 5. So it means that our kind of the idea of the genius person who creates and does it all is totally false. And where does it lead us if we believe this story, that there is like these individuals that are really genius? I think that it leads to the kind of like community and society and culture where we try to kind of like get our stage just on our own and get all the kind of like thanks to us and try to compete with each other. And that's never creative. I think that creative, in fact, and superheroes are the ones that make people shine. Not the ones that say that I have done it all, because I don't believe in that kind of creativity and teams. So, really, the superheroes are the ones that make people shine. So this is kind of like, I mean that this is something that we see quite often, that applaud the one with a good idea. But really, what I have seen is that we have to really rehearse this. And it doesn't just mean that in our kind of workspace or in our teams we say that thank you for this or thank you for that. It means that we bring this idea to our everyday life. And it can be like we are sitting in a meeting room and somebody says that you have a great idea, and then he or she says that, by the way, this idea came from that person. Or we can say thank you to all of these. We can nearly like count in what kind of situations we can say thank you to people. And if you become generous, you really receive so much more, because the happiest peoples are the ones who give, not the ones who just like are alone there in the kind of ivory tower and say that I have done it all. So one of my ex-bosses in Fremantle said that if you try this method, so this was kind of obvious, but he said that if you try this method, always to say that, by the way, this idea came from that person, or you had a great idea like 1 week ago, can you explain more about that? You build the trust inside the company, and you build the kind of like culture that will feed the creativity. So it means also that it's not only building the trust, but it's also acknowledging the team members that are quiet. So I understand that we always say that give room to the people like who are more introverted, but if that doesn't happen, you really need to kind of lift them and say that, by the way, that you had a good idea, and share that with everyone. And I think that this is really important, thinking about creativity and the teams that we work in. So this is something that the rabbit egg. So when I was working in Fremantle, like years and years ago, I had one of my friends was collecting different restaurant menus with typos. And he kind of found one of the menus which said that there is a pizza with rabbit eggs. And the guy called to the restaurant and said that I want to have pizza with rabbit eggs, and they had a laugh, and of course it should supposed to be just eggs, but it was like kanin muna, so it was like rabbit egg. And I think that the kind of story was so funny that I noticed that when I was working in Fremantle, we had a weekly meeting where everybody was talking about their production. And people were sharing about the good stuff in the production. So we have done now The Apprentice, we have so good ratings, and we have this and that, and it was really great to kind of share together with 10 to 15 producers all the good things and stuff and ratings that we have done. But then I noticed that season by season, we might have new producers coming in, and we did the same mistakes that we did in the previous season. So then I started the rabbit egg kind of moment in our weekly meetings, and I always started about myself. So I could tell about story, and I can share that with you right now. So when I was like 32, I was the youngest MD in Fremantle. I didn't know anything. So first when I got the position, I was crying and I was saying that I'm creative, I don't want to be MD, that's dreadful. And then I tried to kind of suck in all the information that I had. My boss said that we are working with these kind of agreements, and this one agreement is called psycho agreement. And I asked that, what does it mean? And she said that psycho agreement is kind of agreement where you have 3 different parties. And I said, okay, 3 different parties, no, now I have to remember that. And I went to the next big meeting where we have international like lawyers and everybody, and I was there that, yes, and now we have to do the psycho deal. And everybody was like, excuse me, what? The psycho deal, you know, the three kind of partners and everything. And then my boss started to laugh and kind of whispered to me and said that the psycho deal means Simon Cowell deal. It's not a psycho deal that has like 3 different partners. And I shared this kind of like story to all of my employees and said that I felt so embarrassed because I was young and I tried to be really kind of like, I know how to do this. And it's kind of like what happened in the company then. Everybody was starting to share that, wait a minute, yes, I just want to tell you one thing, that last time we did Idols, it was so near that we nearly like blew up the whole set because there was a fire and we were like, what? So people were starting to share these kind of small things that they kind of seemed small, but it became like nearly like this relief to every producer to say that, yes, you know, I have done a mistake, and everybody was, yeah, a mistake, what we can learn from that. And every single mistake was kind of like taken in, and we were thinking about how to do that better next time. But it wasn't the individual's fault. It was more about that, okay, how we are like as a humans, and how we try to kind of like be the best versions of ourselves, especially among peers or with our bosses and so on. So I think that the rabbit egg is really important in teams so that everybody knows that we can learn from the mistakes that we are doing. So this is something that I kind of went back. I was in 2009 in UK for 1 year, or more or less I did this kind of module of leadership course, and I went back to the things that I was kind of learning then. And we had different kind of like mentors from Random House, from Pixar, and who were mentoring us and saying that how to build the culture that really feeds the creativity. And there were a few things that I kind of like, and this might be obvious, of course, to you, but I think that these are really important just to kind of think that how do I work in my creative environment? So one of the things that also relates a little bit about the mistakes is the sharing culture. And it means that we have weekly meetings also in Gutsy where we kind of share the ideas that are not finished. So we really kind of like embrace the fact of the process, and everybody can tap in and say that, what about this, and have you thought about that, and when you do this idea or this visual thing or whatever. And I know that it's really hard for everyone to kind of share the not finished ideas, but also it kind of embraces the culture that the process is really important, and how do you take back the kind of feedback that can be positive or negative. And then when you really exercise this kind of skill, you get better all the time. And also we know that when we go to the customers or to the to sell something, we need to be prepared also for the negative criticism, and we know the idea gets better all the time if we really rehearse that. The other one is when we have companies also so we have a company that has offices in Helsinki and Bristol, and it has been really fun to work with a British team. And one of the first things that they said that it's so strange that you hug the employees, that you come to UK and they call me ma'am, and then I'm hugging them, and they say like, oh my God, that's so strange. But one of the things that I really encourage is that you can talk to whoever, so that there is really low hierarchy, and we get the best ideas if our controller talks to our CTO or director to call someone else to talk about the ideas, or they feel like they can really influence to the things that we do. And sometimes we also, because the value thing is really important, so nowadays people want to work with ideas and concepts with values, and sometimes I could bring some of the ideas or concepts that we are working with, and the people can say, no, this is not Gutsy at all, we want to talk about this. And every time they kind of come with that kind of like big passion, I know that they care. So the kind of culture that you can really tap into that, and you really can talk with whoever team member. And I seldom are a big fan of any company, but I remember when I first entered Pixar, and then I kind of understood the kind of genius idea of the kind of spaces there. So I had my like Moomin jacket on, and I went to to this hall that has different kind of foods. They have lunch there and so on. So I stood there for literally 2 minutes, and I was surrounded by all the employees asking that, what are you doing, and can we help, and what do you think about this and that? And that was the culture that everyone can approach anyone, and it really resonates then and makes the teams more vibrant. And then one of the surprising things that I have noticed is that, of course, you don't need to kind of like, your private life is your private life, but sometimes I can see that we work as a creative teams in a bubbles. So sometimes we kind of like get lost in our own own ideas and things and so on. And what has been really remarkable, especially in Gutsy and Fremantle, when we do something else. So we started, for example, the project that every single month we do a charity work in Fremantle, because we were really busy and everybody was saying that we don't have time to do this. But in fact, during that year, when we met unemployed people, we did all kinds of projects with them and everything, our satisfaction in the work grew up with 22%. And it meant that it wasn't only about the work that we are doing, it was about the company that we are working with. And people felt that I really, even though I'm doing something like I'm now working with an idea that it feels like the drama idea of this and that, it feels like we are more tapped into reality and what is really happening in the world. And from that kind of collaboration, we got even more idea. We kind of understood also how we work outside the working team. Because sometimes you also notice that when you are a long time in the same team or same company, you are seen as just in one role. So if you want to proceed from production assistant to a writer or whatever, people tend to see you in the same role. But if you mix it a little bit and do something else with your team, then you can kind of see the other powers and strengths in your team and with your co-workers. So I think that many of us have seen this. I don't know if you have seen, but this is the most common maybe image that has been used in a good leadership. And during this past 1 year, people have been really talking about bad leadership in TV business, especially in TV business and content business. And here you can see that the kind of boss is there, just says that what the employees has to do, and in the other picture, the leader is showing the way. And I think that this is a good image, but at the same time, I think that this kind of applies only to the places that we need the hierarchy. So, for example, if we are in a shooting set, we have to know the hierarchy so that there is a director, there is an assistant director, there is the people know what to do and who is saying the last word. And this is really needed in these kind of shooting sets. But when we go to creative teams, I think that the low hierarchy is really important. So it means that it's not only them kind of pushing forward, it's also them really working together side by side without any hierarchy. So when we enter the room, when we create new ideas, everybody can say to me that that's a shitty idea. I don't like how you wrote this or whatever, because otherwise it would be strange to create together. And I take a step even further. So we talk about good leadership, but what about being a good co-worker? And that means that every single people in the company should feel responsible of the role that he or she has. And then we talk about caring work environment. And that means that the resonance and the vibrance between every single people, also you are responsible of that vibrance. And I give you one example that was years ago, really surprising for me. I was talking with the Gestalt therapist, Barbara Hulden, so thanks to her. And she was saying one thing. She was saying that people are really simple. So if, for example, you feel negative feelings every day you go to the work and you say that I have a shitty this coworker, I hate her or him, I have a dreadful boss, and you are just whining about the problem. So you don't do anything about that. You are just going to the workplace and you're like, I hate him or her, I just hate to be here, and this is exactly what this person like does every time, and you are taking the role of being or dwelling in the negative space. And Barbara said a good thing. She said that if you are feeling negative every day, also in your relationship or in your workplace, it benefits you. And I was like, no. It doesn't go like that. And she said yes. Because people are simple. We don't do the things that don't benefit us. So the question is that, like, if you are feeling negativity day by day in a place, at your home or in your workplace, the question is, what would you be without that negative feeling? And then suddenly I was like, what? It means that, do we take the role of a victim? Do we take the role of a warrior that could say that despite of everything, despite of all this shit that I have in my workplace, or that coworker or that boss, I still flourish? And suddenly if I would say that I'm stuck in this situation, and somebody would say, I take that person away from your life, what would you be? Well, maybe there's something to do with me as well. Maybe I created the shitty idea, and it's not him or her to blame. So I think that was kind of blowing my mind, that how can you be so cruel and say that it's beneficial for us? But next time you feel negative feelings and you're feeling that all over again, think about what is your responsibility of that. And I hope that from good leadership we go to the caring working environment and places that we really care for each other. And the next time you have a fight with someone, somebody comes to you and says that this is the problem, think about one thing, it's about respect. Because no one, if you don't care, you don't come up to another person that, I don't like this, I hate this, or I have a problem with this. So I remember that one of the directors in Fremantle said that, you are so weird. And I said, why? And he said that every time I walk to your room and I say that we have a problem and you are one of the reasons for that, I start to smile. I'm, great, let's talk about that. But it's true, but it's about respect. So that's an example of human behavior. Then when I was studying in UK, and we had these different mentors, and there were so many different people. So we had like Random House CEO, we had one federal prison CEO coming there, and we were talking about Pixar's John Lasseter and Southwest CEO. And they were all, when they came and talked with us, they were so different as a like personalities. And our mentors said that they have tried to study about the essence of the successful teams and stories and bosses, and they couldn't really find that what is the personality trait that makes a really good creative person or really successful person. But there was one thing that they could detect out of the creative teams that are successful. And now the question for you is that, what is the one common thing that they found? What are the most successful teams?
Curiosity.
That's really good, but that's really good as well, but that wasn't the one thing. Trust is really good?
Diversity.
That's right. It's diversity. So that was like, and that diversity means that I know that in Finland it's really hard to kind of sometimes create these diverse teams. But I really challenge everybody so that if you don't have in your workplace, surround yourself with people with different social backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, different ages, because then you can really you are not really in your own bubble. You are like in this world and getting all the ideas from different perspective, and that means also that then you have to be flexible, then you have to have the trust and everything. But remember next time, so the good ideas come from diverse teams and with different personalities. And then I didn't know first that should I put this here, because I first was like a little bit doubtful about what the chairman of the board is Gary Carter, who has been the CCO of Fremantle and Shine, and now the ex-boss is working with us, so it's really fun. So Gary Carter told me kind of like a dreadful example, but he said that, do you know when you are like diving to the swimming pool and there is just one piece of shit in that swimming pool and you don't want to dive in there, so just a one piece of shit kind of changes the whole thing, that you don't want to dive there anymore. And I was like, yes, and where is this going? And he said that even more important than creating good ideas is that who you create that with. So if you are kind of surrounded with egoistic and people who try to kind of manipulate or compete, or you can't do good ideas. And I said, I am the kind of person who always gives second and third chances. So I was like, yeah, but you know, people can change, and what about this and that? And he said that throughout the creative work that I have done, no, because it kills everything. So also the one person who tries to kind of like be in the center or tries to kind of like suck the energy from others, it's like walk away. And I will share that with you. So I don't know how do you feel about that, but that's something that I have learned throughout the ways, like throughout the years, that maybe that's right. Maybe it's really hard to change people. Yeah.
How you can like fire a person because he's toxic? Like
Yeah.
official, how you can do it? Official,
Yeah.
like you're toxic.
Yes.
You're fired.
Yeah.
How to make it on paper?
Yeah. That, well, nowadays it's really hard to get rid of.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. So then you have to either walk yourself away from that situation, or then you have to find the solution that you are like, you have the kind of like distance between that person. But that's true, because
no,
now,
if I don't want this person in my team,
yeah,
and I have a power to fire this person,
yeah.
but like to put on the paper, you are toxic.
Yeah.
I don't have our energy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, that's really hard.
kind of not right.
Yeah. Well, you can't really say that you are toxic. Then you have to find other ways to do that. So, and I know that it's not easy, but that's kind of like how to kind of keep the curiosity, how to keep your child like in a world. These people that are toxic can really kill us mentally, and that's really truth. So I end up with so yesterday when I was kind of going through this presentation, I suddenly like called to my wonderful concept developer Emmy, and I said that, oh my God, I want to stop with one music, and so I want to end up with music, and maybe it does it like work like this? Wait a minute. So we will, because this doesn't work, I will just go back to the 80s. Yeah. And this is in fact from 80s. So yesterday I heard this from radio. And then this is about higher love. And I was thinking, I don't care. I know that this music and this song, people are thinking about that. Does he sing about God? I don't care. My idea is with this song, Higher Love, is that people kind of tend to talk about that good teams push the company forward and it pushes you forward. And I said that, in fact, it's not pushing forward. It lifts you to a next level. And for me, higher love is the kind of love that you share with your team, and it makes you a better person. And it's not only in your relationship, it's also in the companies that you can trust, you can share, you can be creative. And that really lifts you to a better version of yourself, because you challenge one another and you can find the true kind of like pure version of yourself. So I hope that every single person here can find that kind of team that is your family in creating different kind of ideas and works. Thank you so much.